Time for an unplanned video. I am not the only person that this kind of thing has affected. This affects pretty much anyone in the line of work that I'm in. And in case you couldn't tell, I have just gotten out of my bedroom for the morning, so today's video is going to be a get ready with me. I was initially going to do all my makeup and all that jazz and then record, but I was like, nah, fuck it, let's just get it all done at once. So let's start at the bottom and work our way up. Why am I frustrated? Well, it's partly work-related and partly life-related. For those of you who are not aware, I have an Etsy store. You've probably seen it in the title card of my video, but you may have never visited it. It's called OakFaeWitch, and what I do is I do witchcraft on my Etsy shop. I do divination, that's things like tea leaf reading, oracle reading, tarot reading. At the moment, I don't know where my runes are. They got lost when I moved. I look like an Oompa Loompa. So I don't do rune, but I do stuff like that, you know, the basics. I also do things like psychic advice and numerology charts, and I also do spell work. I don't have any specific particular spells in my shop. Some people, you'll go to their shop and it says things like love spell, communication spell, healing spell, whatever spell. I don't do that because I found that if I've ever needed something in the past and I was, you know, too busy or too tired to cast it myself, or I wanted a little extra oomph behind it, if I looked for something specific, generally speaking, there's going to be elements missing from it as far as what you need or what you want for your particular situation. So I just have mine listed as custom spell work. And in the description, I'm very, very specific about what I'm capable of. And I basically tell you that what you're going to do is you're going to figure out, obviously, what you want the spell to be. Then you're going to get a hold of me, or I'm going to get a hold of you in a DM, and we're going to discuss what your exact intention is so I can make sure that I get everything right. And after that, I kind of just walk you through whatever's going to happen. My spells typically start either the night/day someone buys them, or at the evening of a certain moon phase, depending on which way that customer wants to start them. Some people want it immediately, some people want to wait for a moon phase. I always suggest waiting for a moon phase because it will amplify the power behind the spell, but, you know, to each their own. And so, for the most part, people do want to start right away, not super surprising. And so I start right away, and what I tell them is that, generally speaking, I will kind of start slow. I'll start with, like, the protection aspects of the spell and stuff, like, kind of low-grade version of it, and slowly build up. And then, no matter when you decide to begin the spell, during a certain moon phase that matches the spell you wanted best, I will have the spell come to a climax. And then it kind of resolves and calms down, if that makes sense. So it's like, begin really, really lightly, climax during that moon phase, fall back down and be calm. So, generally speaking, I'd say my spell work for an individual person is going to last like a month. And I'm honest with them about that. And I tell them, I will correspond with you as often as I can, and I will, but you have to understand that I very, very rarely have one client at a time. Usually, I have between 5 and 10 people getting a custom spell done by me at a time. And that takes a lot. That takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of resources, It takes a lot of energy from me, and it's just, yeah, it's a lot. And I explain that to them the best I can, and for the most part, people are really understanding. They also tend to say things like, so how long before I see results? Something that I wish people understood going into asking someone for custom spell work, and something I'm sure that a lot of witches wish people realized, is that things like the time it's going to take for it to come to fruition is not necessarily up to us. We don't have full control over that, because at the end of the day, witch or no witch, we are still a human being. Our power only extends so far. It is the spirits we commune with, the power of the universe and the energy of the universe, or deities we're working with, who gets to decide ultimately how things happen. I understand, and every witch understands, that if there's something really pressing going on in your life right now, you want it to happen right away. But if you're sitting there getting all impatient and being like, come on, hurry up, just make the thing happen already, that's, for lack of a better word, dangerous. For multiple reasons. For one thing, if you're working with a deity or deities, or you're working with some kind of magical spirit or creature that is more powerful than yourself, it's obnoxious. You're basically getting in the face of the one that gets to call all the shots and decide how effective everything's going to be for you and how much of what you want you're going to get, and saying, well, I don't think you're doing well enough. Do you really think that ancient creatures are going to appreciate that? Do you really think they're going to want to hear your whining and complaining about the fact that they aren't being powerful enough for you when you want them to be? No, of course not. And that can cause it to backfire. They might decide, well, I need to teach this person a lesson because they're a petulant little child. That's how they're going to see you. So I'm going to, make their life a little more difficult for a bit instead of better. You definitely don't want things like that to happen. You can also have something else, similar happen, but a little more human and less creature, which is if you are getting all impatient and upset with your witch and you're rushing him or her along, you could end up making it so their spell goes haywire. You can make it so they don't fully understand what your true intention is, and if the intention is worded incorrectly, the spell can go very wrong. You can make it so that the witch who is under pressure to just do the work right this second ends up putting a bunch of emphasis on time and not being able to put all of her energy and all of the magic she would like to into it in order to make the spell everything it could be. So it's not going to be as powerful as it would have been if you were just patient. And this is where you have the issue I am having myself right now. The impatience of clients when you're a professional witch. I'm going to kind of try to sit here and, to the best of my ability, list some of the things that I know a lot of professional witches wish that their clients and potential clients understood before you go looking for us. And the thing is, there's really no excuse for not knowing this stuff ahead of time. Obviously, if you've gotten to a point where you're ready to have a witch intervene with something happening in your life, it's pretty serious, and you've probably put some thought into it and really researched which witch you want to help you. So why in the world didn't you use the internet for the rest of this stuff that I'm about to tell you about? I mean, you've got the internet at your disposal if you're talking to me on Etsy or anyone on Etsy. Why in the world didn't you just look up how to communicate or utilize the services of a witch before talking to us? So first thing is, understand that a witch does not only have you as a client. We don't just have one person we're talking to. If we do this on a professional level, as in, every day we are doing some kind of witchcraft for someone who is not just ourselves. You're not the only person we're talking to. You're very likely not the person who needs us the most out of the people we're talking to. We understand life gets hard sometimes and that you need help, but have a little compassion and understanding. If it takes us 24 hours to respond to you, no, we're not ignoring you. We'd never ignore someone who needs our help. Chances are we're just in the middle of someone else's spell, or we're in the middle of talking to someone who's going through something really nasty, or who just happened to get to us before you did. We don't have a fleet of people behind us, especially not if we're just on Etsy or on our own website. We are not one of these psychic advice companies that has 20 people working for them. It is just us doing all the work by ourselves. We do our own bookkeeping. We take all of our own clients. We cast all the spells ourselves. We're alone in this. And that's one big thing that we wish people understood, is that we're completely alone in every aspect of it. So you've got to have a little patience if we didn't answer you right away. And this doesn't just count for when you're just starting out with us. It also counts for after we've accepted you as our client. I've had a lot of people, especially right now when I have other things going on in my life that are really pressing, work-related things. I'll have people who purchase the service. I start casting the spell, and 15 minutes after the last correspondence where I'm okay, I'm about to cast a spell, it's gonna take a little bit, so if you don't hear from me, don't panic. I'm just working on it for you, and I want to give it my all and put all of myself into it, so it's my best work. 15 minutes later, my average actually is 45 minutes after I send that message to people, I get 3 messages in a row from these clients where they're upset and impatient because of the fact that I'm not answering them right now. And they're just how is the spell going? What's going on? Why aren't you answering me? Why aren't you telling me what's happening? It's because I just started. Look at, on YouTube, look at any witch's videos who cast spells on camera. Look at how long it takes. They are on camera casting for at least an hour, and this is an hour of fully edited footage. That means it took them longer than that. Why in the world are you messaging me and bothering me right now when I just got done telling you that I was about to cast it for you? What am I supposed to do right now? And I'll explain to them that I'm in the middle of casting right now. That's why I didn't answer you right away. Sorry about that, but I told you, I can't be focused on other things when I'm casting. I need to put all of myself into what I'm doing if you want this to work correctly. Another issue we have that kind of goes along with the second point that I made is the customer who says they're happy with the way you did their spell work, and then they come back a week later because they don't think things have happened fast enough yet. This is also extremely annoying. This is extremely annoying because we already explained to you we can't do anything about that. We can sit here and say, hey, whatever deity you wanted us to talk to, here's this huge offering. I'd appreciate if you can make this happen as quickly as possible, but think of anything in your life. Let's put it this way. Let's use an example to make this easier to understand. Let's say you want a money spell. You're having trouble making your rent right now. You could use a little extra help. You want a powerful money spell, and you want it to happen as quickly as possible. Well, how quickly do you get money in your regular everyday life? Probably anywhere between weekly and monthly, and that money has to come from someplace. This is something I've kind of explained in other videos too, so I'm not going to go that far into detail, but like, money has to come from somewhere. It's not just gonna poof manifest like it does in the movies and land in your lap. It takes time for stuff to happen, just like it takes time for spells to work. Just like me and any other witch you might use, gods and goddesses, creatures, everything that you could be utilizing to try to amplify your spell, you're not the only person that they're dealing with. They're dealing with a lot of people who want a lot of different things and who need a lot of different things. And you need to respect the fact that, yeah, it might take longer than you want, but sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes it's good because it means that they're making it so you actually earn what you want. Or sometimes it happens slowly because they're making sure nothing's gonna backfire on you and potentially hurt you. If it's taking a spell a while to happen, you need to just be patient and understand that it's going to take a while. And that the spirit world knows what it's doing. It's doing that for a reason. Just trust in the process and be patient. Another one I've had, this isn't something that directly affected me specifically, but it's something that a client was informing me of that happened with somebody before they hired me. This person said that they'd apparently gotten a hold of another witch for a spell, and after the spell was cast, this person ended up having some dark stuff go down in their life, and they ended up becoming really depressed and really suicidal. And as a result, they decided all of this happened because this other witch's spell must have backfired on them. So they gave them this negative review on Etsy where they said, well, I utilized this person's services, and afterwards all these horrible things happened to me, so they must be linked in some way. Then she also mentioned to me she was annoyed because this person apparently deleted that review from Etsy. I had to do my eyeliner off screen because for some reason I was having a lot of trouble focusing on it while I was talking. So back in we go. So there's a couple things we need to unpack with what I just said. The first is that I don't think personally that it's a good idea to erase reviews of any kind, especially negative, even if the negative review was not fair in your opinion. I don't think it's a good idea to erase it because when people saw what this client was saying about this witch, they would have realized right away from the fact that this person was saying that she apparently caused her to become suicidal and stuff, that this was not within the witch's control. And they wouldn't have blamed her for it. But by having it there for a day or two and then erasing it, it makes her look guilty. The other thing to unpack is what this person accused this witch of. A witch does not have the power to do what this person said. If you come to me and you ask me for a specific spell and I cast that spell for you, even if the spell backfires, it is not going to cause you to become suicidal. That kind of thing, depression, suicide, really horrible things like that, are the result of either you or the result of a curse that someone put on you. And the witch you're utilizing for these services would have no reason to put a curse on you. Curses are very personal things. You don't just willy-nilly cast a curse on somebody for no reason. And the only reason this witch who didn't know this person would have put a curse on her is if she had hired her to put a curse on somebody and it backfired. The other thing is, let's say, for the sake of argument, the way the witch, performed the spell is the reason this happened. Well, in that case, it isn't the witch's fault. It is the fault of the client still, because the only way this could have happened, the only way a spell can backfire is if you did not explain your full intention to the witch clearly enough. Your intention is, in the most simple and basic terms, what you want from the witch, what you want from the spell that's being cast. You need to be extremely specific in your wording, because if there are any loopholes in what you say, chaotic spirits and more negative spirits are going to use that to their advantage, and they're going to make life really difficult for you. And most witches do explain this, and again, even if they don't, you have the internet at your disposal. All you have to do is do a quick Google search about that stuff, about why intention is important, and you'll find it out pretty much immediately. And every witch I've ever watched on YouTube explains why intention is the most important part of spell work. So if you're not being clear about your intention and you're leaving loopholes, we have, like I said, other clients we're taking care of. We don't have time to sit there and make sure that the wording we use is exactly to your specifications. We don't know you personally. You might think you know us if you watch us on YouTube. You might think you know us because you've used us for spell work before, but we don't know you. You are a complete stranger to us. We know nothing about your life outside of this little bit that you divulged to us in a DM. You need to be sure that you are wording this stuff perfectly. We'll do our best. We'll do our best to make sure it doesn't backfire, but if the spirits think that you have ill intentions towards someone else and that's why you're having this spell cast, it's gonna come back to bite you. And the last thing I want to get on this video is that witches do not appreciate it when you abuse their power. And what I'm specifically talking about right now is the fact that a lot of us will kind of stack spells to a certain extent. So, for example, if I have someone who thinks they have a negative entity in their dwelling and they want me to remove it, I will gladly add on a protection spell before and after I remove the negative entity, because I feel it's necessary for that spell. I think it's very necessary to make sure that I give them a free protection spell to make sure they're okay in the end. But then people realize that you've done this very kind thing for them and they take full advantage of it. A good example of this in my life is that at one point, I think last fall, I had someone who wanted something along the lines of a hex removed from their boyfriend. And I was like, okay, cool. I informed them that I was actually going to also add on a protection spell at no cost to them because I thought it was a good idea so that he'd stay safe. And as I'm corresponding with her, she then tried to add like 5 different things like, can you also make him love me more? Can you also make him more attractive? Can you make him like better at sex and stuff? She just kept adding thing after thing on, and I was like, like none of this stuff you're asking me for is directly related to the initial spell that you bought. So if you want this extra stuff, you're gonna have to buy another custom spell because it is completely different. And of course, this person got sore at me. She got annoyed because, well, you gave me a free protection spell, so why can't you give me all this stuff for free? That's not the way it works. The only time you're going to get something for free from a professional witch is if we think while we're preparing to do the spell that the only way it can happen correctly, or the only way it's going to have more power behind it for you if it's something really important, is if we add this thing to it. Just like we're not going to charge you for casting a circle or something, But you can't sit there and expect us to just keep on heaping on thing after thing that you want. And I have known so many witches in my life. Almost every witch I know personally has gone through this, where they offer a tarot reading or something, and now this person expects a free oracle reading and free tea leaf reading, and can you do a spell for me, and can you do this for me and that for me, and that's just not the way it works. And they've also gotten, of course, the, but I'm a big fan of yours, or but I'm your friend. It doesn't matter what your relation is to us. It doesn't matter how much you happen to like us as a person. This is still our business. This is how we make our money. And then, of course, at the end of all that, you end up with the classic person saying, well, if you were a real witch, then you wouldn't have to ask for money. This is a talent we have. We are talented in witchcraft. As a singer is talented in singing, a pianist is talented in playing the piano, an architect is talented in creating buildings. You wouldn't tell any of those people you don't deserve to be paid for this, so don't say that to us. It's really disgusting and horrible. You're just saying in anger because you didn't get your way, and we don't appreciate that. And it's true, don't piss off the witch, because guess what? You're not going to get what you want. I'm not saying anyone's going to curse you, although I can't say what's in somebody else's headspace. I wouldn't curse you, but I'm very much unlikely to go through with your spell. If you're going to be really disrespectful like that to me, chances are you're going to get a refund, and I'm going to block you so I don't have to deal with you anymore. This video, long as it was only the tippy top of the iceberg. This isn't even close to everything that professional witches have to go through with their clientele. So I strongly encourage all of you who are witches on this platform to make your own video about this, because I think this is very educational, and I think that a lot of people need to understand what is and is not appropriate before they go and seek out a witch's services. But for now, as always, do something that makes you happy today, no matter what anyone else thinks about it, and I will be seeing all of you very, very soon.